Hi, I'm Cub, and welcome to this video. So everyone wants to get famous or be remembered or something, right? Like, who makes a YouTube channel and thinks to themselves, yeah, these are gonna be some great videos for my friends and classmates, unless you're a teacher. Nah man, the majority want to be remembered. Want to be remembered on YouTube? Pump that shit out then. The more frequent you are, the bigger the likelihood you'll get noticed. So like, animators are so fucked on YouTube, right? YouTube animators gotta find that balance between having just enough animated content to get somewhere and enough trendiness to get noticed. That's why you always see storytime animators hot and trending. They found their little niche of just enough animation and content that neither take up 5 months of their life to make. But for like other people, we're not interesting, so we make animation memes. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. Look man, I got nothing against storytimers, but I just wanna help. Animation memes are fucked, don't get me wrong, but everything can be reformed, and honestly, when it comes to these genres that lack variety or the 12 principles, I don't think it's the animator consciously trying to put in minimum effort. Lots of animators on YouTube are new, many just want a bit of fame, and others haven't fully grasped those 12 principles or did not intend to make that type of animated content. But, I don't know. I don't want to call someone who doesn't make effort to bring things to life through movement an animator. Have you ever had those teachers who you gotta call doctor instead of Mr. or Mrs., and one day you fuck up and the entire world starts crumbling under you because that teacher about to smack you? It's kinda like that. Minimal animation on YouTube, basically less than 12 or 24 frames per second, may seem hard enough for content creators, but that's not really what animation is. You're not gonna go to a job interview for a 2D Disney film and say, yeah, I'm an animator, and show them a 1 frame per 2-second video that has more animation done in your editing program than the animation program. But look, I want people to be called animators, the genuine form. To animators, animation is not just a hobby. It's not just something that you can be one and done with in a total of 2 days. It's the one thing they love, and the one thing they just as equally hate. So whether or not you plan on making a drastic change to how you animate, I want to talk about the meme I Am the Man, and through it show you how you can improve and what you can work on to help yourself stand out. So I'm not going to talk about what the 12 principles of animation are, it would take too long. So I'm going to flash the 12 on screen and leave a link to someone who explains it. If you want to improve even further, I'd strongly suggest buying the Animator Survival Kit, which inspired the making of this video. So let's talk I Am the Man. Everything I am analyzing will be based on these things: the 12 principles, the elements of design, bluntness, only meant to improve, impartialness. I will be analyzing things based on creating traditional animation, but will not go on a rant about what animation is missing, and instead focus on what it can improve. Through this video, I am trying to improve the viewer's understanding of animation, and this is not directed specifically to the content creators listed. So yeah, let's get into it. The original animation meme came from Zachary Jack, who posted it September 13th, 2017. It uses a clip from a song called Can I Get a Witness by Real, and the concept is that you introduce a character who has a rather high impression of themselves. So let's talk about what you can immediately do to improve. Zachary Jack used Paint Tool Sai, Fire Alpaca, and Sony Vegas 13. These are all good programs, but it all depends on how they are used. It is evident that Zachary spent most of their time focusing on detail and stills, eluding Paint Tool Sai was their main program of use. Then put some animation over them using Sai to squash and using Vegas to bounce. For animated stills, they used Fire Alpaca. Sai is a program that is meant for drawing and painting rather than animation. It can be used for it, but it's probably a factor of why people call animation hard in these beginning stages. For someone trying to advance through Sai, they're going to come into problems with how long it takes opening and comparing frames that you could easily flip through with arrow keys in different programs. So, to immediately improve animation quality, try to get an animation program. Some really good ones are TV Paint, Toon Boom, and Flash. I'd recommend Toon Boom because students can get a discount that makes it $6 a month and have high quality potential still. Now into the actual animation. The pros: good coloring, good design, easy to make an animation meme from. The neutral, it is not titled an animation meme, although it does categorize itself as an animation. The cons, Jack's animation is a mishmash of still images, minimal animation, wonky pose-to-pose, and excessive movement that juxtaposes with build-up and expectation of the initial rigid form. Of course, there's more to brush up on than just that, but let's focus on these things. The video comes in 3 parts. The first half, which is the stills, the second half, where they are saying shots fired, and the third half, where the character is in a chair at the end. And of course, this is the formula that most others will be using when they make their take on this meme. But it's a flawed system. It lacks unity and rhythm because of the unequal usage of the 3 portions. More than half the video is the stills. The second portion has the most movement, and the third has excessive animation on the foot that doesn't fit the other 2 portions. This ties into the lack of anticipation. There needs to be a little bit of anticipation in an animation. Motion that gives the viewer a sense of direction. In this video, anticipation is broken because of the unexpected change in style and altogether makes the video feel less unified. This is an aspect many of the other animation memes will take on if they go about copying the video verbatim. It's like copying some other students' test answers and expecting yourself to get a good grade. Finally, let's talk about improving the animation. Let's focus on the shots fired portion. It could have probably felt more connected just by morphing this portion with the last. This could be done by increasing the frame rate in this section to match the one at the end with the foot tap. On the technical side, there is a lack of flow and not enough easing. The flow is off because the head is moving in one direction while the body is moving in another. Instead of the head bobbing up and the body moving down, they should work to go in the same direction and create a smooth arc of action, your flow lines. As for easing, there is about 4 or 5 total frames of the body and the head moving on their own. In normal 24-frame animations, these frames would be considered the extremes and initial in-betweens. So to make it smoother, you have to in-between these pose-to-poses further. If you want to make it even smoother, you can combine pose-to-pose with straight ahead by finishing this portion and then drawing the final animation over it with straight ahead to give it more flow and less structure. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm a perfectionist and welcome to this episode of Incidental Roasting. Now that we have our bases covered, let's move on to the spin-offs. While it's not completely unified, the increase in mouth movement in French Toast's animation gives it alright unity. What I am looking at with French Toast animation is that mouth movement, and more specifically the breaking of immersion because of the overemphasis and lag. As Richard Williams puts it, we as people tend to slur our words together and don't actually move our mouths as much as we think we do. For example, take the sentence, "How are you?" Originally, you may think that you need 7 keyframes for that. Ha, ah, ooh, ah, you. But you can make that same phrasing look more realistic by getting rid of unnecessary mouth movements. We can actually break this down into 3 keyframes. How are you? This is something French Toast mouth movements are missing. It also has some lag, which may be because the audio is messed up, but a general rule of thumb is to always show mouth movement a frame before it is heard. There's also some leg movement at the end that just needed some better timing. Imagine doing that movement with your own leg. It destroys the illusion that this person is comfortably swinging their legs and makes the movement feel forced. It just needs a bigger emphasis on the continuation of momentum and acceleration with gravity. Pepperpixel was very good at encapsulating movement in stills and had a great color scheme. They also had a sense of unity because the animation all kept the same frame rate. But this is just one in a large haystack of this meme that does not actually have the animation portion of animation meme. Not much originality was put into what was to be shown in the video, and overall, if it wasn't a Rick and Morty video, it would have been just as forgettable as the rest. which is not great if you are trying to stand out. For this kind of animation, please put yourself out there. Make yourself stand out. There's so many ways to do this. You can change the concept of the meme and make a story out of it, give it content, or you could focus on animating it more than anyone else, or make it into a funny video. The best animation memes out there are much more easily recognized due to the work put into them, not the amount put out. I wanted to put Sir Fluff's version of this animation in here because their animation is probably the most stylistically appealing with a very distinct style and coloring. Their other videos also show that they can animate very well, even if it's minimalistic in this video. The one thing that probably disappoints me is that it just sticks to the original format instead of doing what it wants to. It's also clear that Sir Fluff can animate well, but they didn't do that for this. Instead, they stuck to the original format. I feel like a lot of animators don't want to change the formula of animation memes because they feel that it is defined by copy-paste. That's not animation, that's stealing. To improve this kind of stuff, it would, again, just be adding more originality in where it hasn't been tapped before. It would just make it so much better. RRZ's version of this meme is probably one of the best traditionally animated ones there is. While I personally believe working more with traditional would make it even better, it is working pretty well with its combination. On the other hand, the frames that you see morphing indicate that they stretch the frame rate when exporting the animation. At points, some frames are also not held long enough for the mind to process them. Perhaps just lowering the frame rate would help with this and exporting on the right frame rate. Zakezawa's animation is one of the better animated ones, and I appreciate its implementation of hand movements and actions. On the other side, the actions feel very disconnected. They don't flow and give me kind of that feeling like when you're riding a bike through gravel instead of a smooth road. This is sort of going back to what we talked about in regards to mouth movement earlier. On top of this though, there is a lack of easing into movement on the mouth and whole body, so there are very sudden movements and very sudden stops to them as well. There also tends to be an overexposure on in-between frames that either need less time or are not needed at all. This, in essence, is a timing and spacing problem, which is a problem because it is the core of animation. But don't fret, and remember the ball. As an animator, I hope you know the bouncing ball. It implements timing, spacing, and acceleration, and squashing and stretching. If you're having problems with jaggedy movement, go back to this and practice some ball bouncing. I'll leave a link in the description of what to look at and how to make your own ball bouncing animation to help improve on these portions. Finally, I wanted to have some honorable mentions. These were Zushi Sushi's video and Uchu Uji's video. They both have wonderful styles, they just lack the animation. I think many animators are trying to strive to create a beautiful style on YouTube, but that's what art is about, not animation. The good thing is that they have a grasp of art. Now they can work to create a better animation. As it's said, without knowing how to draw, it would be like being an actor without arms and legs. Learn to draw, develop a style, but that's the basics. Now to animate, take it bit by bit. Don't complicate what doesn't need be and focus on animating, not stylizing. When it comes specifically to animation, my favorite version of this animation is not actually 2D, but rather a 3D motion created originally by Catalina Navers 2. They implemented the 12 elements very well into the character, most noticeably creating a feeling of dainty highness, smooth motion with well thought out joint breaking that gives more flexibility to the body. The only thing to irk me is probably the beat they're thumping to in the middle. Should be slower, but I don't really have complaints past that, and I think this is a video 2D animators should look into, as well as other 3D motion animations and real life videos. All in all, it's an animation meme. Throughout all the videos, there was nothing captivating about the backgrounds, and there was no interaction with them either, which both could help keep a viewer's interest. The focus was directly to the character, which I feel places this meme right along with every other one where the character stands still on a static background, and years from now, who's even gonna remember it? Most people are going to do their minimum, but if you want to be noticed, put your heart into it. It's so much more rewarding to take your time and make something wonderful instead of taking no time to make something you're not happy with. Animation is a long, hard process, but you already knew that. So chin up, chump. You got a long road ahead of you.